Hey nerdy knitters, are you a newer knitter who's ready to tackle your first sweater but you're feeling a little bit nervous? Or you've looked at all of those sweater patterns out there and you don't know how to figure out which one is good for a beginner or where you should even start to sort them out? Well, I have some recommendations for you today. In this video, we're going to look at my recommendations for top-down raglan sweaters. You start knitting here and then you work increases at set points on the front and back to create a sweater. Before we do, I just want to say, hey, I'm Tanya here at Nerdy Knitting. I'm a certified knitting instructor and a knitwear designer, and my goal is to help you become a confident, adventurous knitter. Now, these first two recommendations are for absolute beginners who know the basics of knitting, ready to tackle their first sweater, but they want a little more hand-holding. First on this list is how to knit a woman's sweater from Very Pink Knits. It's actually the first sweater I ever knit using her pattern and her full video tutorial that walks you through exactly what to do at each step. Now this one uses a sport weight yarn in cotton, and it's a great t-shirt style that's perfect for warm weather. Another great choice is Flax by Tin Can Knits. It doesn't have full video walkthroughs, but it does have really good photos and lots of illustrations to walk you through each step. And it comes in lots of sizes, from babies up to men. And there's also two different sweater patterns that use two different weights of yarn. The original Flax uses worsted Craft Yarn Council medium weight 4 yarn. And then there's also Flax Light, which uses a fingering weight yarn, so you get even more choices. Now these next 4 patterns don't include full tutorials to walk you through every step of the way, but they're still simple enough that an adventurous beginner who knows their basics, casting on, binding off, knitting and purling, maybe an increase or a decrease or two, all of the other skills you can learn as you knit one of these patterns. First on that list is So Faded by Andrea Mowry. Now this one uses a variety of hand-dyed yarns and her signature fading technique to create a custom sweater. Now it's still a top-down raglan and it has a bit of texture at the shoulders for some interest, but this is a really great one if you like hand-dyed yarns and the look of that fading technique, and she even has a pint-sized version for kids too. Another great choice is Mycroft by Isabell Kraemer. Now this is that basic raglan shaping. It has a boat neck, and then there are some short rows that are used to lift the back of the neck. And there's a simple textured broken rib pattern across the yoke and the cuffs and the hem for a bit of interest. So there's a little bit more going on here. So if you're feeling adventurous, this could be a good choice for you. Then there's My Beginner Raglan Light. Now this is a really basic top-down raglan, but it's worked in garter stitch with a super bulky yarn. So if you love garter stitch and want a really quick knit, then this is a great choice for you. Then we have Avalanche by Heidi Kirrmaier, following that same top-down raglan construction, but this one also uses some short rows to shape the back neck. And there's a cable and lace panel that runs down the front for a little bit of interest. And it's also worked in a bulky yarn, so it will be a quick knit. These last 2 recommendations are a step up from those previous 4, so there's a bit more going on. So maybe for an intermediate knitter or a really adventurous beginner who wants to tackle some more interesting things. First is Snowflake by Tin Can Knits. Now this still uses that top-down seamless raglan shaping, but it has a pretty lace yoke. So you've got all this lace going on that's worked in one color, and then the body of the sweater is worked in a second color. And instead of using rib at the neckline, cuffs, and hem, it uses seed stitch instead. And then you finish with some pretty buttons and buttonholes along one of the raglan lines. So there's a little bit more going on here. If you're feeling adventurous, that could be a good choice. Then we have the Harley Pullover. Now this one has a deep funnel neck with a drawstring and cables everywhere. The funnel neck along the raglan seams, down the sides, the cuffs, the hem, and there's a lot going on, but it's really a cool knit and definitely looks like something worth knitting. Knitting in the round from the top down is a great introduction to knitting sweaters because you can stop, put the stitches on waste yarn, and try it on as you go to make sure it's fitting the way you want it to. Now, if you have recommendations for top-down raglan sweaters that would be great for beginners or adventurous beginners, leave a comment down below. Tell me about those patterns. And if you're looking for more pattern recommendations, go check out the comments and see what other knitters are talking about. If you're looking for more beginner sweater ideas, check out this video right here.